Morning everybody. What I'm going to be doing today is hopefully shortish video on how to use Yorkshire Grit. So I've got a piece of I think it's spalted beech on the lathe. It's already been turned down. It's already been sanded to 240. There's no need to go any higher than 240. So what I'm going to do now is put on some sanding sealer. I use spray-on sanding sealer. You can use any sanding sealer that you want to, but it's always important to put sanding sealer on first. That seals the wood. Now, if I wasn't using Yorkshire Grit, I would then knock back the sanding sealer with one of these orange web racks pads. But as I'm using Yorkshire Grit, there's no need to do that. So I'll just change the camera. And there we are. So I've got the piece of wood on there. Going to add some sanding sealer. And I'm just going to wipe off the excess on that. And that's it, ready for the Yorkshire Grit. So I'm using Yorkshire Grit Original. So apply that while the lathe is stationary, or you just turn it by hand anyway. Get it on all over. And then what you do, turn the speed down to around about 250 to start off with. If you've got one of the lathes with the Reeves drives, the minimum speed you're going to get to is about 500. That's okay. If your lathe only goes down to that, that's what you use. And I'm using kitchen roll on this. Glyn Senior, who developed Yorkshire Grit, he tried or did a lot of research and tried a whole load of different things to use with the Yorkshire Grit, and he found the kitchen roll was the best. And this is the most important part. Spend about 2 or 3 minutes getting the Yorkshire Grit worked in. Now, Yorkshire Grit is a mixture of mineral oil, beeswax, and rotten stone. And it's the rotten stone that is the abrasive in it. And what happens when you use Yorkshire Grit is that as you're working it in, the abrasive breaks down and becomes finer and finer and finer. So you end up with a nice finish on the wood. Right, so that's that bit done. I'm going to move on to a clean piece of paper now. Turn the speed up. I'm running at about 500 now and carry on working it in. Now, the whole point of Yorkshire Grit is that you can take this, or you can get a finish on this of around about 1,000 grit, but you're not having to use any dust extraction. Because all of the dust that's being taken off is being caught within the wax and the oil. So it's a healthy way to sand. And what you want to do, you want to turn that up again. I'm up at about 700 now. Another clean piece of kitchen roll. And you want to keep on working it in until your piece of kitchen roll comes away clean. And we're nearly there. Once your kitchen roll has come away clean, that shows that the Yorkshire Grit has worked. And that's us done there. Switch off. So that's us. We're up to around about 1,000 grit there. So it's ready to take a finish, and you can use any finish you like. You can put an oil on top of this. You can put a wax on top of this. People do say, can you colour over Yorkshire Grit? You can, but can you colour with Yorkshire Grit on? Use Yorkshire Grit to take it up to 1,000 grit, because you always want to have a good finish if you're going to colour something. But then what you do, any residue that's left, you clean that off with methylated spirits or denatured alcohol. Just clean off any excess Yorkshire Grit. You don't have to do this with the methylated spirits if you're not going to colour something. But if you are going to colour, I'm fond of using colours, so if you are going to colour, clean off the excess with methylated spirits. And that's it, all cleaned off. And now you can use some colour. So I'm just going to quickly colour this using Hampshire Sheen intrinsic colours. I'm using Ruby just to quickly colour this. And as you can see, the wood is taking the colour. No problem at all. I'll just let that dry for a minute or so. I'll use my hot air gun just to help with that. And then people start saying, well, can you use Yorkshire Grit over the top of colour? Yes, you can. What you do is, once your colour's on, give it another coat of sand and sealer. Again, just taking the excess off. Like that. Now this time, what I'll do now is use the Yorkshire Grit Miicrofine. This will take it, or this finishes up to just over 2000 grit. And this will just rub down the sand and sealer and shouldn't affect the colour too much. And after I finish this piece, what I'll do is show how to use Yorkshire Grit, both original and Miicrofine, on resin. Now I don't use resin a hell of a lot, but I do have a piece that I can practice with. And again, same thing, I'm starting off at 250 just to get that started to work in. Knock the speed up. And there we have it, ready for a finish. So you can put a wax over that, you can put an oil over that. If you leave it for 24 hours or so, you could put a lacquer over the top of it once everything's dried out properly. So that's how to use Yorkshire Grit on a plain piece of wood and also with colour as well. So what I'll do now is get set up and show you how to do the Yorkshire Grit on resin and what sort of finish you get with resin as well. Right, so I've got that sanded. This is a piece of, I think it's Mallee Burr with resin. This was a blank I was given a good while ago to have a play with. So it's been sanded to 240. I'm going to put some sand and sealer on there. There's probably no need using resin, but it has got wood in there as well, so that's why I'm doing that. Again, wipe off any excess. Put on the Yorkshire Grit. Turn the speed down like we did previously and just start working it in. Again, spend a couple of few minutes on this part. Turn the speed up a bit. Clean piece of paper, speed up a bit more. That paper's starting to come away clean now. Switch off, have a look. Yeah, we've still got scratches there, but they're very fine scratches. So move on now and use the Yorkshire Grit Miicrofine. Stop that and have a look. And there we have it. There's not a lot of scratches left on there now. It's come up with quite a nice finish. So that saves all the wet sanding. You can take this finer, obviously, with some of the micro mesh, up to sort of 3,500 if you like to get it really, really clear. But that's looking really nice, that, and that's just with the ordinary Yorkshire Grit and the Yorkshire Grit Miicrofine. Open up the camera. So that's us. That's a quick tutorial on how to use Yorkshire Grit Miicrofine, both on plain wood, with coloured wood, and on resin as well. So hope you enjoyed that, and thanks for watching. Bye for now.